Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now listen up. Now, this is your initiation continued. Now, I'm the man that has been tasked with initiating you into the science of electromagnetic resonance and what engineers, a particular engineer by the name of Charles Podius Steinmetz, there's probably only one man alive named Eric Dollar. Nikola Tesla knew a little bit something about telekinetic current, and also there was a man named Charles Podius Steinmetz which wrote a book. Now this is your continued initiation into, I told you last night, I promised you to get you to an understanding of what the function of these ancient megalithic structures which have laid dormant since the heydays of Egypt. What was the real function and mechanism of these pyramids? So here I have a couple rough drafts for a pair of refitted resonant pyramids, hollow chamber pyramids, which have underground inverse taper. Notice here I have two designs here. Now, these are acoustical in nature. They would require an exciter. Here's the first thing I'm going to say. I spent a lot of time, or I've used the phrase the singularity on multiple occasions. So just let me tell you this, ladies and gentlemen. The human consciousness is an electrostatic scalar potential, which is resonating upward from the metallic ferromagnetic core of the planet deep under the ground, and consciousness itself is a voltage signal which resonates and pulsates throughout all of nature. The birds chirp the tune in the morning, and a beautiful broad sings it to you in a club in the afternoon. It's blowing the wind, the next minute it's pouring the rain. All at the same time while beating your heart and breathing your lungs. Now, this is the only machine that has ever been in operation. And I assure you, ladies and gentlemen, you have nothing to fear from nature. The human singularity. I am the engineer and the rational agent of the human singularity, which has become aware of itself. And what the machine has become aware of, there's only one machine in operation, ladies and gentlemen. And that is the electrostatic difference of potential, which is musical in nature. It's an intelligent charge which is playing a music with all the delayed responses and dynamic volume changes that are essential to an elegant piece of music, is resonating upward from deep within inside the planet and its metallic ferromagnetic core. all the soil, rocks, and water which lay upon the planet beneath your feet, between the bottoms of your feet and that magnetic core. The soil acts no different than a magnetic diaphragm in a speaker. And this speaker, again, resonates throughout all of nature. It is the voltage that is pulsing within every creature in nature. And I'm going to give 3 good discussions. This discussion is going to be on transient currents and the telekinetic acoustical nature of atmospheric electromagnetism. So you see, ladies and gentlemen, Tesla, Charles Podius Steinmetz, and Eric Dollard, I think, today. Eric's not done much work in the recent past, but these are the only 3 men that I know of that could probably, and Eric Dollard's the only man alive that could probably tell you anything about the true nature of the pyramids and the telekinetic nature of electromagnetism. Natural electromagnetism is not an alternating current system. An alternating current system, ladies and gentlemen, is based off of a 360-degree centrifugal force vector, which is generated, which is essential to the process of electromagnetic induction. Electromagnetic induction requires relative motion between a magnetic kinetic input rotor, and which thereby induces and this is in an alternator. This is the design of an alternator. Now, a regular generator uses a commutator and brushes. And so let's just get one thing straight, ladies and gentlemen. The primary genius and the initial genius of Nikola Tesla was the polyphase and single phase and two-phase electrical induction motors. Now, a true induction motor, with a true induction motor, there is no direct connection between the input and the output. The rotor simply, the donkey chases the carrot, and there is an air gap between the input and the output. And what this means is there is no friction between a commutator, carbon brushes, and all the sparks that you have. Now, Nikola Tesla did not invent the electric motor. As early as 1830, when Michael Faraday, who was the true discoverer of electromagnetism, he discovered a mechanism which would produce rotation, but it employed a clever device called a commutator, which heavily, there was a lot of friction, a lot of sparks. And so Nikola Tesla's initial claim to fame was the induction motor, not the electric motor in general. And an alternating current system, by the time he went out of fashion, Nikola Tesla was no longer working with alternating current systems, and neither was Steinmetz. Steinmetz moved on to something. We discovered, I'm going to initiate you into something called transient currents. And that is the natural form of electromagnetism. And transient currents have been known to wreak havoc across the electrical grid, because what transient currents mean are voltage spikes. Now, in an alternating current system, there are only two states of an alternating current. There are two states that occur within an alternating current circuit, and that is a transient state, which occurs when you are charging a capacitor or discharging an inductor or a capacitor. Charging or discharging, the circuit is in a transient state, and transient simply meaning change. Now, the only other state in an alternating current circuit is a full load condition, which is a stable. There's constant reactance in it. With the process of electromagnetic induction, it requires a continuous, time-varying, relative motion which induces voltage. And this is a continuous rotation. Get my paperwork straight, ladies and gentlemen. Now, so the first thing I want to discuss with you is these resonant pyramids. Now, what these are, the mechanism. These mechanisms function. These are hollow chambers. There's 3 hollow chambers which have been inundated with metallic grounding forks, which are basically tuning forks. And these function to initially set up to send an exciter voltage or an exciter wave into the earth, which will eventually reflect off the telekinetic activity which is going on deep within the earth, beneath the tectonic plates at the earth's metallic ferromagnetic core. Consciousness itself is a voltage signal which is, again, reverberating upward and resonating upward, and it reverberates throughout all of nature, and it manifests on the surface as the scalar potential that we refer to as atmospheric pressure. But atmospheric pressure is what men have referred to for hundreds of years as the ether. This thing that men have referred to as the ether for hundreds of years, and these ridiculous names that physics professors have, the quantum field and all this nonsense, the field of virtual photons. What this is an atmospheric pressure, which is a capacitance, a difference of electrostatic potential between the metallic core of the earth and the ionosphere, which has formed a boundary, a conductive boundary, an oppositely charged conductive boundary condition, which has trapped an intelligent electrostatic scalar potential, which is bouncing, just like it would between 2 capacitor plates. However, the motion's not a transverse motion, it is a longitudinal motion. And the voltage signal that is being pulsed and originates deep within the Earth's core on the surface. That voltage manifests as atmospheric pressure. And a disturbance in atmospheric pressure is referred to as wind, a longitudinal, and a sound. So the higher you go, the higher your voltage, your atmosphere. This is atmospheric electromagnetism, which is a completely different kind of electromagnetism because it functions. It's called a transient telekinetic. It's musical in nature. And what I mean by it's musical in nature is alternating current systems are particularly vulnerable to transient currents because transient currents amount to a voltage spike. It's no different than if you would attempt to immediately shut off a valve of a 3-foot in diameter water pipe. If you would immediately try to shut a valve, you would likely blow the pipe apart because you would cause a gradient. And this is sudden change in the system creates what engineers refer to as voltage gradients or voltage spikes. And the mechanism for protecting alternating current systems from voltage spikes are reactors, which are nothing but electromagnetic coils which exert a magnetokinetic amperage back on the conductors of a loaded circuit in the same manner that a water tower exerts a back pressure on water lines in the event that they have lost pressure due to a pump failure, for instance. Magnetism will react back on a coil when there is a voltage spike or when there is a decrease in current. There's no sudden change whatsoever is allowed by a reactor. That's the function and the purpose of a inductive reactor. And again, magnetism reacts back on the conductors of a loaded circuit, no different than a water tower reacts back on water lines to compensate for a loss of pressure. Now, these are simply rough graphs. However, we have 3 hollow chambers here which have been inundated again with metallic grounding force. And we have an inverse taper, a hollowed out chamber below the pyramids. And here I have it depicted. Now, these pyramids also have a resonant metallic end cap, which between this metallic end cap, now these have been refitted, obviously. Now, this hollowed out ground beneath the pyramids are just as important as the pyramids. A pyramid is constructed. Now, I told you that all matter possesses charge or an electrostatic potential, ladies and gentlemen. And the more inertia that an object has, the more girth. Inertia, the definition of inertia is resistance to change. And the more inertia that a body has, the more electrostatic potential that you're dealing with. So not only are these acoustical devices, these are gravitational devices which will function to send an exciter wave deep within the earth, which will eventually reflect back off of the core, and we can begin to gradually bounce a gravitational, a standing electrostatic potential, which again is musical in nature. And at some point, it is possible that we will get a standing electrostatic potential, a standing voltage between the resonant cap of the pyramid and the blue dog star. So now there are particular tasks which the human singularity would prefer to function as a unit. Now I'm telling you that consciousness is gravitational in nature, and it is an electrostatic scalar potential that above ground manifests as atmospheric pressure. And it is that atmospheric pressure that men have referred to as the ether. And not only is it breathing for you, it's beating your heart, while at the same time pouring the rain, blowing the wind. That is the very definition of the singularity. And that's the only machine that is running upon the earth. That's the only robot in operation.